before you submit on FilmFreeway, try to contact the festival director and say, do you think my film's a good fit? There's nothing wrong with that.
Every year since 2012, crowds have descended upon Boise for the uniquely inspirational music and arts festival, Treefort.
2 years later, the growing festival added its film branch, Filmfort.
As the years progressed, forts begot more forts, and now we have things such as Ale Fort and Yoga Fort.
Today, we welcome and appreciate the opportunity to record live at Podfort inside the elegant Boise Contemporary Theater.
Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. And today with us, we have Filmfort director Thomas Phillipson.
And Thomas is here to give us the inside scoop on what it really means to run a film festival.
And what indie filmmakers can do to better stand out with their art. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
So we are going to start with a new little segment that we've decided to call Myth or Truth.
Yes, and Thomas, so we're going to rapid fire some questions at you. And you, as the director of a film festival, you need to tell us whether it's myth or truth.
Oh my, okay. I've never been accused of being a quick thinker, but let's go.
Then this will be even more exciting for everyone here. All right, number one, film festival programmers only watch the first 5 minutes of your film.
Oh, absolutely not true. Though, I will say this, many film festival programmers I know will say that if you don't grab them in the first 5 minutes, they kind of know that it's probably not going to be saved in the next hour and a half.
That seems fair.
Good point.
Good ending can't make up for a bad beginning.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Having a famous actor in your film dramatically increases your odds of getting into festivals.
Of course. Well, no. I mean, in Filmfort, that's not what we're looking for. We're not that kind of a festival.
Right on.
I mean, but if somebody famous was in it, we wouldn't turn them away.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, we wouldn't just say, no, that we're too good for that.
That's a good sign. The C-list actors are celebrating right now. Film festivals mostly program films from people they already know.
Oh, that's not true at all. We're always looking to meet new people. That's the best part about programming film festivals.
Oh, nice.
Nice. And if you don't get into Sundance or South by Southwest, your festival run is basically over.
This, I don't know. I'm not the person to ask because I'm not the filmmaker who's been doing this. I'm only paying attention to what comes from us. And often a lot of filmmakers are waiting and, they don't want to give it to us until they know if they're in to Sundance or one of the big ones or not. And we don't care about that. So I don't pay attention to that.
Oh, right on.
That's kind of nice.
So it probably false. Probably a myth.
Probably a myth. Okay.
I mean, you probably know better than I do, right?
Well, I don't know. Sundance and South by Southwest have both told me no many times.
Oh, come on.
All right,
They have no idea.
Number 5, your cover letter actually matters when you submit your film.
Cover letter. Well, everything we get is through FilmFreeway, so it doesn't really have a cover letter, but it does have a director's statement, which I will, and our screening team will look at after we watch the film to see if it gives us any clues about what we just saw, if we need them. Sometimes we do.
Yeah, right on.
But we don't really have a cover letter, but it never hurts, just like with a job.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
More the better. So let's
Sure.
talk a little bit about you, Thomas, and what is your history with directing film festivals, making films, if you've dabbled in that area, your interest in films in general?
Yeah, okay, don't let me go on too long here. But I started as a journalism major at the University of Oregon and couldn't get into the classes I wanted, so I started taking motion picture theory classes and then figured out that I could actually major in that.
Oh, cool.
You can do that?
Yeah.
That's cool. So I did that, and then I didn't get a lot of production there. So I went back to Portland, where I'm from, and started taking classes from the Northwest Film Center, learning 16 millimeter shooting and stuff like that. So I was making my own little films then, starting to.
So you learned to make films on film?
On film,
nice.
Yes. I learned to edit video linear, too.
Oh.
That's how old I am.
That's rough.
Only nonlinear for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, this goes way back, but it's one of those things, it's like knitting, like you have to start at the beginning, and if you make a mistake, you have to tear out the whole thing and start over again. So nonlinear editing, I mean, it was only a brief history of the world, but it was crazy. Anyway, took classes at the Film Center, and then started like hanging around there a lot because that's what the Film Center was there for. It's part of the Portland Art Museum. You could rent film equipment there, take classes, and then they also had film festivals, including the Portland International Film Festival, which brought tons of really cool films from all over the world that I loved going to see. And then I eventually, long story short, too late, got hired and took over the Northwest Filmmakers Festival.
Okay.
Which was when I started. I was kind of in charge of helping filmmakers of Northwest North America, which includes, of course, Idaho, as well as Alaska and Montana and Oregon and Washington. And way back then, it was, most of the films were coming from Portland and Seattle and Vancouver, BC. But I was always looking for things from Idaho just to round things out.
Yeah.
It was hard to find back then, but not so much anymore.
It's growing here. It's
The
burgeoning.
Idaho filmmaking community has grown exponentially.
So it sounds
in the
like
last 10 years.
basically you have been passionate about film, and then you've decided to take the route to not only you know how to make your own, but you also promote others.
Yeah, I
grow the
never
film
set
community.
out to be in the film festival world at all, but it turns out that I like kind of event sort of work where it's
Okay.
like there's a big hullabaloo and then you go on vacation for a while and chill out and then, you ramp up again.
Nice.
I just like that. And I like, the excitement of a festival and an opening night and all that kind of stuff.
Interacting with the artists.
Absolutely.
Yeah, talking shop. Very
Yeah.
good. Can you tell us a little bit about Filmfort specifically, and
Yeah.
what makes it different? And we've attended several times Filmfort, and the vibe is cool. Like that's probably the most succinct way.
It's especially cool, I hope, for the filmmakers that come, and I think it is. It was all, our co-founder is still our director of programming, Ian Clark. He co-founded it years ago. He's also started the Eastern Oregon Film Festival before that in La Grande. And his sort of sensibility about what kind of films to program sort of set the tone for us. And he's a filmmaker himself. That's how I met him. He had a really great film that we screened at the Northwest Filmmakers Festival years ago, and I just liked him because he's a great guy. He's fun to hang out with, and he gives that to the filmmakers who come here too, as do the rest of us. So I think that set the tone. And then Chelsea Smith took over as director, and she's built this great structure for us. And then last year, she and Sierra Padilla Hewitt were co-directors. And then they both got too busy in their jobs, and Chelsea's got a band playing, Cactus Moon playing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So they're all too busy, and it's like, Thomas, it's time that you did your end of the work here. So that's how I got to be director this year.
Right on. And what kind of experience are you trying to create for filmmakers at the festival and for attendees? Because it's not only do the filmmakers attend this festival, it's one of those festivals where you do see people that appreciate film come in and watch the screenings.
That's great. Yeah, because it's something special and unique to offer, this area of Idaho for your cinephiles here, which I'll go off on a tangent here. It's like
Absolutely.
You guys are lucky to have, you've had the flicks here for so many years that have been showing not just the mainstream film, but sort of a well-rounded collection. So that's all of that. And now IFS, the Idaho Film Society, is showing interesting things. And that has all helped make an audience ready for what we're going to show too, which is some really out there stuff.
Yeah. And so for people outside the Boise area, there are a lot of fans of film, and the Flicks is an independent theater that screens not just the national chain films, but unique movies, and IFS every week something off the wall. For sure.
And you've had that for years now.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I'm not answering your questions, but
That's okay.
getting around to other things.
Well,
so what makes Filmfort special? It really is like the filmmakers that we bring in, and we pay attention to that when we're selecting films. It's like, who do we want to be here with us? And we have 70 filmmakers coming this
Wow.
week.
Very well attended.
Yeah, I mean, those are not all directors; those are crew and actors as well. But they're all here. And the great thing, the thing that makes Filmfort the most fun festival to direct for me, is that you have a built-in after party every night for every film
Yeah.
because all the filmmakers have a wristband, and we're all on a WhatsApp communal group, and it's like, let's go over to the shrine, and we all meet over there, and we can really bond with the filmmakers, and everybody has a blast.
Yeah, and it's a good opportunity to network with people that are artists outside of just the filmmaking community as well.
Absolutely true.
The artist wristband.
Yep.
Anything from musicians to podcast hosts.
I was talking to Ian. Yeah, Ian's at Yoga Fort right now.
Nice.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, it's great.
A lot of different things. So can you talk about the evolution of Filmfort over the years and, like maybe a little bit about how it's different? One of the things that I noticed is that there are no awards, which is different than other film festivals. Can you talk about that a little bit?
That's because we're all socialists here at Filmfort.
Oh,
The crew, and we like to really
cheers, comrade.
All right. We like to, spread it around. It's like, it seems a little bit silly to say this one was the best documentary, and those awards definitely have their place because they're really good marketing tools. You can make a lot of social media hay out of them. So there's I see why a lot of festivals do it, but it never really made too much sense for us to do that. For instance, like if you had an audience award, it's every year going to go to one of the local gems because the audience for that, they brought their mom and dad and
For sure.
all their friends. So it's like,
Yeah.
it kind of doesn't really mean anything. So we like to just spread it out. They're all our children. We love them equally,
Nice.
pretty much.
Except for, the one.
Oh, there's always one.
So what advice would you give, because not only are you directing Filmfort, but what advice would you give to filmmakers as far as submitting films? And you can even go back if you have advice on if they have a script or if they have an idea, what they should maybe tackle if they want to maximize their ability to be able to screen it in front of people. Because indie filmmakers, these film festivals are what we rely on in order for our films to be screened.
Right. I think I have better advice for how to get your film into a festival than I do how to actually first get your film made.
Okay.
Back when I was in Portland working at the Northwest Film Center, I had answers for that because we taught classes there. I would tell you to come to other filmmakers' screenings, meet them, see how they did it, talk to them about it. We would have events for them to talk to each other. That's part of my job back then. And I'm trying to continue that job a little bit here. We're having a little community discussion. I don't know if you noticed that on Saturday at IFS at 11 a.m. talking about building your film community. And I think that's one of the things I would talk about to anybody is like try to build your own personal community, which helps build a bigger community in your community in your
for
city
sure.
or in your area. Just talk to other people and help them on their projects, and they'll help you on your projects. That's to get them made.
Yeah.
Now, to get into a film festival, I think the most important thing to do is to research all the film festivals that look interesting. Like, pretty much, I feel like everybody's on FilmFreeway now.
Yeah. You have to be if you're
You have
gonna
to be.
trying to get screened.
All
for sure.
if you don't know that, if you're out there and you're listening and you don't know about FilmFreeway, look that up. You put your film on there, and pretty much every festival that you would ever want to enter is on there, and you just everything goes through there. And on the back end for us, we see your film. We have all of your information there, and we can just download it and work with it and screen it through that. It's great. But the thing you should really do is research the film festivals you're thinking of entering and see if they are the kind of festival that seems to show the kind of film that you're showing. That's kind of the most important thing. You don't want to be spending entry fee money on things that are never going to show or just doesn't fit with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important bit of advice.
And do you mean kind of just as far as genre fests go, like don't submit your drama to a horror festival, or do you mean really dig deep into what they've programmed in the past and what sort of audiences tend to show up?
If you have the time and you care about how you spend your money, if you're not independently wealthy, like most of my independent filmmaker friends are, then you might as well spend that time really researching definitely the genre festivals. If you have a horror film, it's going to be way easier to get it into a horror film festival. So, but I can't even tell you exactly what you would learn by looking at what Filmfort has programmed in the past, but you can get sort of a kind of sense. You at least know that we will program a very experimental film. We will
For sure.
program something really out there, whereas not all festivals will. Some are more tame, and they know that their audiences don't want that. We know our audiences do want that. They want like the craziest crap we can find for them. So, but we balance that out with like really solid, great movies that will appeal for everyone too.
Yeah, I think that's a great analysis as far as eclectic films. It does. That's always fun when I go to the screenings at Filmfort to see some of these things where you're just wondering where this idea came from.
Absolutely. That's like the most exciting thing when you're on the screening panel watching these things. You sit down and you want to love whatever this next film you're going to watch is, and you want it to surprise you, and you want it to say something new. If it can move you, that's so great. So we're always looking for dangerous stuff and stuff that makes us think and shows a point of view.
And that's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about how many submissions you get at Filmfort?
For sure.
Just so people have an idea of, you're obviously taking a lot of time and consideration to cherry pick the films that you think will go well together, the unique films, but also I'm sure that's just like the tip of the iceberg as far as submissions are concerned.
Yeah, all the festivals that I've worked with in the past have spent a lot of time trying to get like the most submissions they could. And we don't really do that at Filmfort. We're not just trying to make revenue. We're trying to find the good fit. And I think a lot of filmmakers have been really good about finding us.
Okay.
Finding it's almost like a matchmaking sort of
nice.
app.
So you're putting a caveat there that there are film festivals out there that probably do get a giant amount of submissions, but they are advertising and
yeah. By contrast, so the Northwest Filmmakers Festival that I used to run, and this was only open to North American filmmakers.
Okay.
I used to get about 400 submissions a year. Some of those I would have to dig for and get, but we'd end up with about that many every year. But that was a different thing because that's how I got to know those filmmakers, and then I could start a relationship with them and help them along their way as filmmakers, and that was my job then. At Filmfort, we are looking to curate a program for that fits inside of a music festival.
Yeah. That
makes sense, that will feel really fun to go see our film and then go out to music or go to Hackfort or go to Yogafort or Dragfort or whatever.
Yeah.
We want to be in the mix, and I think that sort of we go for that sort of thing that will mix in with everything else.
Right on.
Is it just you kind of going through and watching all of these? Do you have a whole panel of people, and are they the same people every year, or does it kind of vary?
So our director of programming, also our co-founder, Ian Clark, is the guy. He's the last word.
Okay.
So most of our core team and a panel of screeners who are most all of them have been doing this with us for a while. We try to get a diverse bunch of viewpoints for sure to weigh in. And that's the great thing about FilmFreeway. You can watch it through that, and you can make comments and rate it. And then Ian goes through those, and we discuss it, and we all lobby for our favorites.
Okay.
And then we decide which films we're going to choose, and then he puts them in the shorts programs. He does all that programming.
Oh, right on. That's really good behind the curtain stuff there to know that you are using FilmFreeway itself to comment and kind of let the programming rise to the top.
Yeah, there's a whole back end on FilmFreeway that I guess filmmakers would never see, right?
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good thing. Filmmakers should get on screening panels.
Okay.
That would teach you a lot about how to get into film festivals.
Okay.
If you can do that. It's like if you want to get a I'm at the point now that, I was working so long at the Northwest Film Center that I get asked to be on granting panels now.
Okay.
Which is just teaches you a lot about how to write a good grant.
Right on. Okay.
So, that's kind of the thing that I always try to tell filmmakers is imagine you are on a panel for a film festival and you're screening this. It's like, what would you want to see? What would you want the panel to know? Mm-hmm. So include that in your director's statement, stuff like that. What do they need to know?
Cool. That's great advice.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of realizing we're assuming that, film festivals, once you're into the film festival, good things happen. But can you explain maybe once a new filmmaker gets into a film festival, what are some of the ways that they can better, make use of that opportunity? Maybe Filmfort specific things that they can do, or, just since you've directed other film festivals, how to best maximize on that opportunity?
I think at Filmfort we make it really easy because our communications, Sierra Padilla Hewitt is our hospitality director, and she's so good about keeping the filmmakers. She just sent out a thing like great places to eat in Boise while you're here. The key to making the most of your festival experience as a filmmaker should be obvious, but maybe it isn't, is just dive into everything.
Yeah.
You can sleep it off after you're on the plane back home. Just dive into every single thing you can. And like at Filmfort, Treefort, that's a lot.
For sure.
But it's really worth doing it.
The feeling of missing out is legitimate every single year that you come to Treefort because there's too many things going on at exactly the same time.
No, but I love FOMO. I think FOMO is, is like the best thing because I think it's important. I've got it bad. I mean...
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they love FOMO. That's new.
Oh, yeah.
That's
it
new.
gets me off the couch, and I'm always glad that I went out, and went to, it's like it's 7 o'clock. I was going to go to that movie, but maybe not. Oh, okay, I'll go. That everybody has that. Mm-hmm. Or, there's some, Wheel of Fortune is on TV and, I think I know the answer to this one. So you stay there and you miss you always, you might not even regret that, but you never regret going out.
For sure.
And participating. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And seeing new art. So
yeah.
You're recommending filmmakers
go hard.
Yeah. Connect as much as you can.
I will say that tracks that you mentioned being from Portland and having lived in Portland, and we've been to festivals in Portland before, and the community there, not just the filmmaking community, the entirety of Portland shows up and gets involved and gets excited.
I feel that we've built that community, that audience, and I think the Northwest Film Center was instrumental in doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Not only from the filmmaker side of things, but also helping create an audience for getting out there and going to see film. And it wasn't, we kind of, I feel like, started it, but then other people really helped, like the PDX Fest, which was an experimental film festival, arose, and they started really helping us get audiences for experimental films. And then that created more experimental filmmakers, and so you just keep building on each other. It works great.
That's
awesome.
Cool. Do you have any insight? There's a lot of listeners that tune in that are from outside of LA, New York. Quite a few that do, but when you're in one of those areas that isn't a traditional film hub, what are some things that they can do to start to build that not just the film community, but what you're talking about, the community surrounding the film that will support them? Do you have any tips on that? Just like getting somebody that's not a filmmaker to come see your screening, basically, is what I'm asking. Yeah,
well, it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes time, and it takes offering things that will be underpopulated at first.
Okay.
And you just get the word out. But, you have to just put really interesting programming out there.
Okay.
And that will reward people. They find it and they enjoy it when they get there.
Right on.
Getting them there is tough.
Do you have an example of one of those moments where you were at a screening that you helped organize and there was a film there and the audience reaction was one of those things like, okay, now we're at a moment?
Boy,
here?
I feel like that happened a lot because there's a lot of different levels that you hit, you know. Yeah, I don't have really specific thought of that right at this moment, but
Okay. Right
You
on.
will by the end of this weekend, though, I'm sure.
in about 10 minutes I will. I'm sure.
So do you have any common, you talked about like submitting to film festivals that are going to be somewhat similar to the film that you have for filmmakers. Do you have any, as far as programmers are concerned, do you have any examples of when programmers have reached out to a film to be screened and what that looks like?
For sure. So every film festival I've worked for, that was a big part of how we found the films. You wait for the films to come in over the transom, as we used to say, through FilmFreeway, but then we go out and research, especially so Sundance happened, we knew what was going into Sundance a month or two before, and we looked through that list and reached out to some people. And we do that kind of thing every year to make sure that we're getting a good breadth of things. And if there's something that really fits our vibe, we'll go and talk to that. We'll definitely reach out. And that's where you get a lot of great stuff.
Okay. Very
So is
cool.
there something filmmakers can do to sort of position themselves, I guess, in a way that would make you want to reach out to their film more? Or is it just getting it shown at other festivals and just trying?
That's the easiest way to make yourself findable, of course. And I mean, you can always, before you submit on FilmFreeway, try to contact the festival director even, or somebody,
Before
or even info at, even before you submit, and say, do you think my film's a good fit? There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
guess, I assumed that wouldn't be an email they would read.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would, and I think a lot would, because again, they're looking for you. They're not your enemy. They really want you there. If you have a good film, they really want it in their festival bad.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all in the same ship, paddling in the same direction.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, festivals couldn't do it without the filmmakers. Even the ones that don't get into their, festival, you need a whole variety to choose from.
Yeah, for sure. On that line, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Good.
Because you're talking about eclectic films. Do you have an example of something that came off as immediately memorable to you in recent history where you were like, oh, okay, this stands out, and maybe give us a reason why it stood out to you?
Well, I can talk that way about films in the festival this year.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That'd be great.
There's one called Joy Bubbles that is a joy, absolute joy, that's playing, Friday night at 7:30 at the Flicks.
Okay.
I hope I got that right. And I started watching that, and it's just it delighted me from the very beginning. And it has a lot of archival footage.
Okay.
So I'll tell a little bit about it. So it's this guy who was born blind and kind of from a very early age became obsessed with telephones because they're sort of the great equalizer for blind people.
Oh.
Eyes don't help you at all when you're on
Yeah.
the phone, right? So he became obsessed with them, started talking to the phone company, researching, and he figured out, this was back in the late 60s, 70s, he figured out that he could dial long distance by whistling tones into the phone. He had perfect pitch, which is the key to this whole thing. So he was able to dial long distance back when long distance cost an arm and a leg.
Okay.
And so this started this whole movement, the phone freaks, which I had never heard of until I saw this movie Joy Bubbles. And it's and the guy is just a genius and charming and fascinating. And there's all this audio content from him, but not a lot of visuals. So Rachel Morrison, the director, who's well-versed in using archival material, pairs this just visually delightful stuff with the audio that you see. So that's an example of something that felt fresh and nothing I'd seen before. And then behind it is this fantastic story that you can grab hold of as well. That's an example, I think.
No, that one would stand out for a long time, especially the phone freaking, the pH kind of freaking, green boxing or yellow boxing. I haven't heard that since the 90s, I think. So that's delightful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now I know where I'm going to be on Friday night.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really good.
That sounds like fun. So I think that's a good example of a unique story that's being told by a filmmaker that has a unique skill set, which I love those kinds of films
It's
as
a
well.
good combo, yeah.
It's like this is a polished skill set, archival footage, and totally unique story. There's one thing that us filmmakers talk about, we filmmakers talk about sometimes, and that's things when we submit outside of the story, right? We submit to film festivals, and we're like, is the runtime too long? Oh, those types of things, do I need to wait for the premiere status from South by Southwest or Sundance before I submit to these other festivals? Do you have any advice in that realm where it's just technical?
I have an answer to, is the runtime too long?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Great answer.
Always. It's always too long.
Kill your darlings.
Yeah.
Just do it.
From the audience's standpoint and from the screener's standpoint, it's always too long. But a funny thing, to really answer your question there, if you have a short film, if it's 10 minutes or under, it's way easier to program in a shorts program for a festival. And they will take that into consideration. If you have a 15, 20-minute, it doesn't work well in a shorts program if it's too long, because it kind of overpowers. And when the audience is used to watching, it's like making a mixtape, right? You've all done that with music. Mm-hmm. You want to kind of keep it moving, and it's got to flow. And if you have one big anchor at one end or the other, it doesn't work very well. So this year we actually said we were not accepting films like between 20 and 60 minutes or something like that. Well, we ended up making exceptions, and that's why we have a program of long shorts. Okay. Which I think this does work. We have like 3 medium length films together, and that does work. But if you're making 15 to anywhere up to like 60 minutes, which can stand alone, that's a hard row to hoe to get your film into a festival. Okay. It really is.
So your advice is, that's great advice, that the film is always too long.
Yeah.
There's always room to chop things, move things along more smoothly, more succinctly.
Of course. I mean, you should always think that, right?
Yeah, for sure. So it is easier than, if you don't have a feature, try to make it shorter, try to make your story shorter.
Yeah, if you can make like a 3 or 5 minute, that is that's like candy to a film festival programmer, if it's, a good one, because it breaks things up nicely.
That's nice.
It's much easier to program.
I think we saw a 60-seconder at one of the film festivals this year.
And it was great, right?
It was amazing.
I still remember it. It was beautiful. They did such a good job with it, too. Okay, so what about the premiere status situation, though? Is it worth waiting and sitting on your film for an entire year to wait for the top big boy festivals to get back to you?
That you have to answer for yourself. It depends on what your strategy is going to be and what you're really trying to get out of it. I know Treefort does not, we're not, I've never been involved in a premiere festival, and I don't want to be involved. Yeah. I don't want to be involved in an industry festival. Premieres don't matter to us. It does matter only in the sense of, can we get an audience for it? So that's why we do want things not to have played in Boise. Yeah. Already. So premiere here, but they can have, opened wherever it can, or in Des Moines. It doesn't matter. We don't care about that.
No, that's fantastic, and I think really encouraging, because I know there are a lot of filmmakers that sort of feel obligated to sit and wait.
Well, they are obligated by the bigger festivals that kind of hold out and say you must premiere with us. Which, understandably, it's just the way the game works.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, like some surprising anecdotes about running a film festival?
Surprising anecdotes?
Yeah, something that maybe most filmmakers would have no idea. Things that you deal with on a daily basis, where it's like, this is the actual world of running a film festival. And maybe you've talked to a filmmaker and they just, assumed it was something else.
Gosh, nothing comes directly to mind when you say that. I just went completely blank. Did you see it in my eyes?
That's all good.
So there's
I'll
no
frost
like
it
secret
over.
recipe or anything like that. The people are like, if you do X, Y, Z with your film,
No, it's
you'll
what you
get
would
in.
imagine it would be. I mean, it's not really as mysterious as you might think. With every situation, put yourself in the position of whoever you're trying to think about. So film festivals, they're all people just like you and putting things together and trying to make things cool. There's no big mystery about it.
Right on. Do you have any advice for a filmmaker, maybe in a more remote area, that's trying to put together an event? Because, I mean, Filmfort is one hell of an event. Maybe they want to create a screening for their short film, and they
I
want to
love
bring
that.
people out. Like, what would you do in that situation to get
Do
some
that.
attendance?
Do that for sure. I always say about events, like once you have a place, everything follows. A place and a time.
Okay.
So just find a hall, find wherever you can show your film. Talk to whoever owns that, or maybe it's your own backyard. It doesn't really matter. Depends on the scope of what you're trying to do there. And set a time, and then everything will start to follow. You'll know what you need to do to get people there. It should be kind of obvious how you need to promote this thing and who you want to be there. Make sure they know about it. Create your own movement. I think that's a great idea. Now's a good time to do it because I think, I talked about the PDX Experimental Festival a while ago. It's so funny because I was talking to the guy who started that a couple years ago in a coffee shop, and I always thought it was so cool because it was really grassroots, made by artists. And I said, so how did you guys, start that? And I can't remember. I was around then, and I was working, and he said, Thomas, you don't remember. A bunch of us submitted our films to the Northwest Filmmakers Festival, and they weren't accepted, and we were pissed off.
So you
they
created
started
the festival
their own
then?
festival, which is kind of delightful, and it reminds me that every great movement is a reaction, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And right now, and the more weird things get, the more people actually get motivated to react. So do that, like in your little community, with your little screening, with your little film. React and just get more people involved with whatever you're doing. Be nice.
Oh, I'm actually hearing lean into revenge. That's what I'm hearing. Yes. That's where we're
I
going.
know, but
with
I
this.
love this guy, Matt McCormick. He's teaching up at Gonzaga. Great guy and makes great films.
So, if it worked for him, it should work for
I don't know
everyone.
if he's forgiven me, but
But the air is cleared the other way.
always. I can't burn bridges.
No, that's not in this industry anyway.
I don't know how.
All right. Our final question for you. If someone listening right now, either live here or later when this goes live online.
Wait, it's going live online?
It's not going to be live. That would be really cool if we were live broadcasting this, though. When it is posted later online, and somebody is thinking about submitting to Filmfort, what's one thing you wish they knew?
One thing I wish they knew. Well, definitely know that if you're going to submit your film to Filmfort, we want you here. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to come and be a part of this whole thing. We're not just showing your film. We want to hang out with you, actually.
Yeah. Cool.
That's awesome. And it actually feels that way. You're right. The communications have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And that's not me. That's our team that built this before I even stepped in, for sure.
Well, they do great work. So.
Yeah, I think that's
work.
great advice, and I think that's probably good for most film festivals, unless they're an online film festival. But the value you get is out of networking and chatting with people and seeing new eclectic films. And I definitely would put Filmfort up there on the top of the list of eclectic films, experimental, interesting, unique,
We'll
and
show
engaging.
crazy things.
Yeah.
I want to say really quick, it just flew across my mind. I want to, since I stepped into this role this year, working with the greater Treefort Music Festival machine, I'm so impressed with. It's made it so easy because there's always a person to talk to when it's like I'm doing something stupid or it's like, oh, I screwed this thing up on the website. They're right on it, and it's just like the easiest. It's the best organization I've ever worked for.
No,
Boise's lucky.
Yeah, this festival is really impressive. If you are listening from anywhere and you've never been to Treefort, put it on your list.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, every year it's a great time. All right, well, with that, shall we succinctly say farewell from Podfort 2026?
I think so.
Excellent. Bye.
Bye.